Okay, in this video I'm going to show you how to find the diesel particulate filter switch in this type of edc16 file. Now whether you choose to do something with that switch is entirely up to you. I'm not going to comment on that, but what I am going to comment on is how to find the switch. I've deliberately picked the 2D view. Hopefully it will make sense as we scroll through. What I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll through past, there goes driver's wish maps, some maps that should be familiar by now. There's the EGR maps. I'm going to keep scrolling through some more EGR type maps. I'm going to keep going. These may become recognisable in the future from different videos if I do those. But again, I'm going to keep going until I hit that one. Now, if you've been looking at some of these videos, you'll know what that is. That's the torque limiter. Now, in this particular file and other EDC16s like this, when you hit the torque limiter, you know you've gotten too far. So the switch is that way, off down this way. So I'll just go back down that way a little bit. And when you get to this point, you know you've sort of gone too far the other way. In other words, what I normally do is I scroll through the file until I see these two maps, because they're very characteristic. They show up in that shape in many files, and that's because they're to do with the spin speed of the turbocharger, the way that all ties in with exhausts and exhaust gas pressure and the like. So they're fairly obvious, and you can spot them because you know that pattern is fairly obvious to look at, isn't it? It's quite distinctive. So when you get to there, if you're searching through a file, you know you're nearby. Now if I jump forward again, the next clue to look for in terms of visual clues is these two maps, 8x8, 8x8, and once you've found those two maps, you can pretty much say I'm there. And what you need to do then is to look for a number, and what you're looking for is 32767 followed by 32768. Now as I mouse over these high points, they probably won't show up on the screen in front of me, but if I get to, let's pick that one for now. That one says 30000. That one says 65535. This one says 32768. Is there any more similar height? There's one there. That one says 33153. Well, I'll come back to this one because it's one of the numbers I was talking about, 32768. So I'll click on that and I'll change to text view. Right, now here I've got 32767, 32768 right next to each other like that. Now they're the two numbers that I was saying it was important to find. So they're the two numbers that I was looking for. So okay, I found the two numbers I was looking for. So looking for the 2D pattern got me that far. I'll just get rid of that highlight for a minute. Right next to it there's a 0. Now don't worry what these numbers are, because the numbers around here vary from file to file. But what I'm looking for is a number that could be a switch. Now switches usually operate in the range of 0 and 1. But that doesn't mean I'm looking for 0 or 1, because I'm looking in 16-bit mode. And in 16-bit mode, a 1 may well show up as 256. So that's the number I'm looking for. So that's obviously not 256, that's not 256, but that is. So that is probably the switch. Now of course at the moment it's difficult to know for sure, because we're not seeing it as a 0 or a 1, and we won't because we're looking in 16-bit mode. Now that doesn't matter. If we've got the right spot, it doesn't matter, and we can just change it. We can just say, well, I'll change that to 0. Because I'm assuming that that's the switch on and I want to change it to not on, so I'll change it to 0. But if you want to see it as it really is, as really is a switch, the easiest way to do that is to, first of all, I'm just going to mark it. Now I can't mark it easily through here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to search and I'm going to choose insert edit comment, and I'm going to just put in there DPF switch, because that's what I think it is. And over here I'm going to click on background and I'm going to say OK. All that's done is that's just pointed out that there, so I know now where that is, because it doesn't matter where I go in the file, that one is going to stay that green colour, turquoise, whatever you want to call it. And I've done that on purpose because if anybody's been playing with files, they will know that when I change to 8-bit view, very often the whole thing jumps about and you can't find where you were. But obviously I can now, because it's still the same colour. So here we are, there's the 256, but it's now been split into its two parts of 8-bit, so I've got 8-bit and 8-bit. There's the switch. Remember we said 1 or 0, so there's the switch. So having found it, I can now click on that and I can go delete insert K. That will pop up and say that's 1. I'll double click on there and I'll say DPF switch, and at the moment it is switched on. So I will say DPF switch switched on. OK. Get rid of that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump back to 16-bit view. So back to 16-bit view. My marker is still on top of it. Now I can either leave that marker there or I can do away with it. At the moment I'm just going to get rid of it and I'm going to go to delete comment. This will only be here once you've put a comment in. So in other words, if you click the right button in Windows so that you can put a comment in, you won't get the option. But once you've got a comment, you will get the option. Why it's like that, I have no idea. So I'm just going to delete comment. Now, of course, the whole thing looks yellow. That's because we're in 16-bit mode. But in fact, the only bit that is yellow is the 8-bit view. So if I go back to 8-bit, there's the bit that's yellow. There's the other part, which is not yellow. But of course, as soon as I go back to 16-bit, it will take the whole thing and make it yellow. But here you can see it doesn't matter, does it? You see, if I make this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros and press enter, it's been accepted. So that's now 3 zeros. If I go to 8-bit view, what was 001 is just now 000. And if I go to just that one and make that 001, enter, if I now go back to 16-bit view, I'm back at 256. So it doesn't matter whether I go to the 8-bit view and change 001 to 000, or if I just stop at this at 256 and change it to 0. And I don't bother to go to 8-bit view, I just go to here. As soon as I find 256, I change it to 000, job done, it's off. Now, this, as I said, is not always in the same place, but it's generally within 4 or 5 places of these two. So if you've got a file and you look along here and you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, oh, I can't find it, that probably means that file hasn't got a switch. And not all files have. So if you can't find the switch, it may well be there isn't one. So it's as simple as that. Now, because this video is about finding the switch, I'm not going to go into the rights and wrongs of switching DPF filters off or taking the filters off the car or emptying the canisters or anything else. I suggest that if you want to get involved in any of that, then you look into it more for yourself. The only comment I would make is that you cannot change this switch unless the car has had the DPF removed from the car and the car had a perfectly happy original file sitting in it with no errors. Do not assume that you can just change this switch on a file because you've got problems with an original file with an original DPF causing problems. You cannot do that. You cannot just change the file and then load the modified file up and expect everything to be good, because the chances are it won't be. You might be fooled and you might think, oh, this is okay, but for a few thousand miles or a few weeks or a few months or whatever, but then you will start to run into problems. So do not make changes to this switch until you have looked into setting the system so that it is perfectly happy with the existing file before you consider modifying the file to a DPF off file. But whether you choose to do that is up to you. I'm in Great Britain, it's illegal here.